Hey everybody! So I am so hyped up today. I've got some amazing news that I can't tell you yet for the next couple weeks. It's going to be super exciting for those living in Iowa City area. But if you're joining me on the replay, type replay so I can say hi later. If you're joining me live, if you just want to type an emojicon down below, I'm actually, then I can know who's popping on, right? I'm actually getting better at Instagram, so I'm trying to expand my horizon and not be one of the old people on Facebook, right? I'm pushing 40. Well, I was actually just talking to a friend tonight and she was turning 35 and I was like, dude, I can't wait to turn 40. I can't wait. 40s are going to be awesome. But anyway, so hello, thanks for joining instead of watching Netflix or whatever. What's tonight? Thursday? I don't even know. I don't have cable, so instead of watching Housewives, thanks for tuning in. So I'm moving on in this book that I was talking about. So I talked about cancer yesterday, and I had a testimonial from a friend who had cancer and went through chemo and found relief actually with CBD when she lived out in DC. That's actually where she started on CBD oil to kind of combat those side effects of chemo and her cancer. And she's been cancer-free for, 5 years ago, she said? So 5 years. And then the day before I talked about anxiety and depression. So if you don't know how Facebook works, you can actually I'm not insulting anyone. My mom literally didn't know that all she has to do is type in my name, and then you have to actually click on my name, and then you could scroll my page. Some people, they're just not Facebook savvy. But so I wanted to talk about diabetes just because I was reading, I'm just reading my book. Dylan's in bed now. And I read through cancer. I already talked about that really yesterday. But the diabetes, I was like, oh my gosh. I feel like everybody knows somebody with diabetes. I do. I know somebody with type 1 and type 2. So I was just reading this and I was like, oh my God, I've got to read this to them. And again, this is coming from Cannabis Revealed. Dr. Goldstein has a clinic in California and she treats only patients only with cannabis. Whether, when I say cannabis, it could be from marijuana, it could be from hemp. It's legal there, so it's probably from marijuana. However, it's the same when it comes from hemp. If we're talking CBD, we're talking CBD. If we're talking THC, we're talking from the marijuana, okay? So that's the difference. So listen to this. All right, so diabetes is a group of metabolic and autoimmune diseases that result in the high blood sugar. Type 1 diabetes, sometimes called juvenile diabetes, occurs when the pancreas is destroyed by the body's own immune system. The pancreas makes insulin, which is a hormone that converts sugar into energy and helps store sugar for future use. Diabetes type 2 occurs when insulin is produced but not used properly. This is also called insulin resistant. Patients with type 1 require insulin to survive. Type 2 diabetes, which is currently being investigated as a possible autoimmune disease, can be controlled with dietary changes, oral medication, and sometimes insulin. So you guys kind of know this, right? The difference between type 1. However, a couple of years ago, I didn't know the difference. So maybe you don't. I don't want to assume anything. So drop a 1 below if you know somebody with diabetes. I'm just curious. Okay, so this is talking about type 1. So type 1 usually results from a genetic predisposition to immune dysfunction combined with an environmental trigger, most commonly a viral infection. Once triggered, the major components of the inflammatory system contribute to pancreatic cell destruction, specifically the cells that produce insulin. We have already learned that the cannabis plant contains numerous anti-inflammatory compounds. Researchers have sought to understand if cannabinoid compounds may prevent and or delay progression of insulin-dependent diabetes. A number of studies have shown promising results. So this is one study. In an experimental model of mice with autoimmune diabetes type 1, THC caused a lowering of high blood sugar and decreased the loss of insulin by suppressing the severity of the autoimmune response. So that's THC. So that's not legal here, but if you're in a state that's legal, that's number 1 point. Number 2, in a study of non-obese diabetic mice, the development of diabetes was prevented when the mice were given CBD. So now we're talking anybody can get their hands on it because it's legal in all states. All right, point number 3, mice with initial symptoms of diabetes who were given CBD, legal to everyone, had no progression of the disease, had suppression of pro-inflammatory response and increased anti-inflammatory response. Point number 4, CBD was found to significantly reduce heart muscle dysfunction, inflammation, and cell death in a mouse model of type 1. You guys, that's huge. That's like 2 paragraphs full of like just mind-blowing. Insane, right? Okay, type 2 diabetes. The endocannabinoid system is involved with energy metabolism, food intake, and energy storage in animals and humans. It appears from research that cannabis users may be lower risk for developing type 2 diabetes. Point number 1. An inverse relationship between cannabis smoking and diabetes was found in a review of 8 studies. Type number 2. In a study sample of 579 cannabis users, 1,975 non-users, cannabis use was associated with lower levels of fasting insulin, lower insulin resistance, and smaller waist size. Number 3, cannabis users were found to have lower risk of diabetes than non-users in a study of 10,000 adults. What's up, Steve? Hey, Melissa. All right, so it's important to understand that a dysregulation of the endocannabinoid system that often accompanies obesity and may be caused by obesity, as explained in Chapter 3, may lead to the development of type 2 diabetes. There's conflicting research to whether THC is beneficial to type 2 in the long run, and further research is needed. But most of us, we don't need THC. It's not legal. But most of our ailments, we don't even need it. So wait until you hear like the stuff about CBD and type 2. However, there's numerous scientific reports that other phytocannabinoids found in the cannabis plant may be beneficial to a person suffering from type 2 diabetes and its complications. So number 1, the phytocannabinoid THCV was shown to reduce glucose intolerance, improve glucose tolerance, increase sensitivity to insulin, and improve triglyceride levels. Number 2, CBD was found to protect diabetic animals from retinopathy, which is damage to the optic nerve, by reducing neurotoxicity and inflammation. Let's stop for a second. Are you kidding me? Like, damage to the optic nerve, like that's an MS thing as well. Like that's the number 1 reason people are diagnosed with MS is they have optic neuritis. So, and I already know it's beneficial for MS. I'm living proof. All right, point number 3. CBD prevented development of diabetic peripheral neuropathy in model mice with diabetes. Point number 4, CBD was found to lessen the cell inflammation and cell damage and protect against diabetic complications such as atherosclerosis caused by high glucose level. So that's all beneficial. That's all available. Anybody can get their hands on CBD right now. Anybody. Like that is huge, you guys. So then it goes on to talk of my patients with diabetes, the majority have type 2 and only a few have type 1. Most are using cannabis for other chronic medical conditions because of course, if you have diabetes, you probably have other medical problems. It just comes with the course, right? Especially type 2. So most are using it for other chronic medical conditions, including chronic pain. That's like a no-brainer for me. Insomnia. I have dozens of people that it's helping sleep. Anxiety. Oh crap. Yes, if you're listening, I will get back to you tonight. It's only 9 o'clock. The night is young. Anxiety, when I messaged her and said, no problem. I didn't mean that anxiety is no problem. I meant that it's no problem for CBD to handle. And arthritis. These patients report that they have better control of their sugar levels. They exercise more. They sleep better. And overall have a sense of well-being. For many people, cannabis also helps reduce stress and can promote better choices, leading to a healthier lifestyle. Plus, if you're sleeping, like it's just all around better for your body. I encourage all of my patients to include the use of CBD in their medication regimen as it's an anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. Our effects are very important for preventing complications from diabetes. I mean, come on, Stevie, you're at a wedding and you're on live. Get off. You're so rude. But like mic drop, hello, like you guys. This just like every time I read a chapter, I'm just like, everybody needs this. Everybody. Like it's just insanity. Hey, John. So yeah, like if you know anybody with diabetes, if you share this broadcast on your own Facebook page and then maybe tag them in it and like do the emojicon of the pointing up like, hey, you might find this interesting, or hey, I thought of you. Like that would be awesome and that'd be super beneficial. for your friends and family that have diabetes. Just spread the knowledge, man. I mean, what? You're out $100? Like what? Like big deal. I spent $100 at Target. And what's the benefit that it will start helping you? Like, it's just a no-brainer to me, especially like all of the ailments that it helps. It's just insane. So anyway, it's 9:01 and I only wanted it to be about 8 minutes. We'll see where I'm at. I hope you guys are having a great night and thanks for joining me. And I'll talk to you guys later.